Hello, everyone. The program is about to begin.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to say it's so nice to see you. I can't quite see you, but I love knowing that you're there. Truthfully, this event each year is my favorite. And while we're not up on having our amazing lunch up on the 5th floor patio, it's still going to be my favorite event of the year because I get to spend it with my fellow alumni, and go Gators always. And we do this event each year because we can't think of anybody who's more committed to San Francisco State than those who are alumni of the university and then choose to continue to work there. I think we're all doubly committed. So thank you so much for joining us today. We're really looking forward to being able to be back and having a sunny day, although I think it's raining in San Francisco, that we can join us back up there, and we can't wait to have that experience again. But thank you for joining us for our first ever virtual on-campus alumni celebration. And we still think it's going to be a fun day, and we're sure going to learn a lot. And I'm especially interested in this. I have to say my go-to sandwich would be peanut butter and jelly. So I think Chef Tim is going to help me up my game there, and we'll be interested to see what you're all making as well, and see how this helps you. So I also now get the great privilege, this is such a fun way to do this event, we hope you enjoy it, of introducing Tim Shaw, who Chef Tim is the instructor for San Francisco State University's Vista Room, and they are focused on training students in the hospitality and tourism management department and preparing them for careers in the restaurant industry. Chef Tim has all kinds of experience. So let me go through this list of places he has studied. Earning a bachelor's degree in classics and archaeology from Williams College. He has also studied at the French Culinary Institute, has a master's degree in food studies from New York University, and also a master's of public administration in sustainable management. And there he focused on food policy and did his capstone presentation on the issues of GMOs, and that was at the Presidio Graduate School. He has devoted his professional and culinary career over 20 years, and that includes catering and private chef services and extensive teaching. And he's really focused on promoting sustainability in food systems and nutrition. And just a few of the places where he's been asked to share his expertise was, he was asked to design a program in nutrition and sustainability for the French Culinary Institute. He's been the keynote speaker for Yale Medical School's week-long module on nutrition. And he was also asked to be a speaker at South by Southwest Eco on the issues of teaching about food systems. We are very, very fortunate to have him at San Francisco State. He is an absolute asset to our university and to our students. And if you've, to all of us, if you've ever visited the Vista Room, which I hope you have, you'll know what a great opportunity, what a great program that is, and a real feather in the cap of San Francisco State University. And so it is my great honor and privilege to introduce Chef Tim Shaw. And please take it away. Show us a little about how we can be better. Oh, we think you might need to unmute yourself.
There we go.
There you go.
Am I muted? Excellent.
Yes.
Thank you for that introduction. I was not expecting that. It's weird to hear about yourself. It makes me feel old. I love that you mentioned the when I did the speech at Yale University. We actually had 3 students who were Yale medical students who came to the French Culinary Institute like a 6-month break before they went into their residency. And they loved the talks I did on nutrition and health and how the medical industry has some stuff wrong. So that's what led me to talk there. But I started my whole lecture by saying, you know, it's a real honor to talk here at the beginning of your week of nutrition studies. That doctors at Yale get 1 whole week in their 4 years where they focus on nutrition. And it got a nice little laugh. And then I made them eat butter. But thank you very much. This is very fun to do. I'm glad to be doing a different topic because I've done Cioppino demos, I think 3 times this semester for different audiences. So it was nice to be asked to do something a little bit different, which is always interesting. And then, as you said, you know, sandwiches can be as simple as peanut butter and jelly. I knew they were going to start barking. Hold on 1 sec. Get it out, boy. I have the grill on, so I have to have the window open, and that makes my dog bark. But
Fair enough.
Sandwiches are you know, they're very personal, and people like. I even have friends ask me, like, you know, what do you think about peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwiches? And I'd say, you know, I think we shouldn't be friends. But I'm like, if you like peanut butter and mayonnaise, eat peanut butter and mayonnaise. That to me sounds weird, but what you eat in your own privacy of your own bread is kind of your own business. And it's but there are ways to make sandwiches that are really exceptional. There are ways to make sandwiches that are just sweet or comforting, or, you know, peanut butter and fluff. Then there are some of the great sandwiches in the world, like a nice New York City Reuben or a banh mi, which is just like an explosion of flavors and textures and lots of different stuff. So I figured, since we're doing something pretty easy like sandwiches, I'd show a couple different techniques that are also kind of cooking techniques, because you can very easily turn this into a cooking demo as well as just a way to make sandwiches. And if anyone has any questions about anything, type it into the chat. In my opinion, the best sandwiches, while you always be kind of designed to your own palate and your own tastes and your own likes, and, you know, what you have available at the time as well. There are some things that make sandwiches that elevate them beyond just a sandwich. If you think about varying textures and adding something a little sweet, adding something a little spicy, it's a great way to get all of those flavors into a nice little package. The hot, sour, sweet, spicy, crunchy texture stuff. So we're going to do today a home roasted turkey. I roasted some turkey last night, and I'll show you the best way to cut turkey to keep it nice and tender, because a lot of people cut turkey the wrong way. It's about going against the grain of the muscle. That's going to be made with brie. I bought a nice brie for the creaminess, and some Granny Smith apples, because Granny Smith apples are nice and tart. They're going to give that nice sweetness from the apple, plus a little bit of the tartness, acidity from the malic acid in the green apples. You're certainly welcome to use a red apple if you prefer, you know, a Honeycrisp or something that's a little sweeter. But again, I like, particularly with the cheese and the meat, I like something that's a little more acidic. And then a honey mustard. And I will admit, while I made the sourdough for our for our vegetable sandwich, I bought the ciabatta. I'm one of those people who started making sourdough years ago and have never been good at it. But during this time of COVID, as so many people have, I've been making it quite regularly. And I've got a decent sourdough. It's not great. I don't think I would put it in the Vista room yet. But I just can't work with ciabatta. It's a very, very wet dough that I'm not really used to working with, and I'm not overly patient when it comes to baking. So I bought the ciabatta, which is fine. And if you bought the sourdough for the vegetable sandwich, that's also probably fine as well. There are great sourdoughs to be had around here. So the two real main techniques I wanted to show you, I'm going to start with doing some stuff for the vegetable sandwich, because they have to get grilled. And I'm going to turn it down so you can see my camera is sitting on a black box of wine as a tripod. So you can see that I'm wearing my San Francisco State sweatpants, since I haven't worn pants with a button or a zipper in 9 months. It's all elastic waistbands these days. I'm going to show you the proper way to kind of prep a couple different vegetables that some people usually ask about. I'm doing a yellow pepper and an orange pepper just because I like the sweetness of them and I like the color difference, since the green is going to kind of come from the zucchini and from the pesto that I'm going to show you how to make. When I'm cutting peppers, I like to take it flat and kind of cut out some of this white pith stuff. Because this can be bitter, particularly when it gets cooked and gets burned. And that way you also have a nice piece of pepper that kind of lies flat, and will lie flat and make your sandwich look a little bit nicer. So I try to get as much of that out as I can. It's not necessary, but I find it gives a much nicer flavor, sweeter flavor, because that stuff can get really bitter. And then with my zucchinis, I had already cut them, but I saved a piece just to show you. To get a nice shape out of a zucchini, I like to go on a really nice long bias. So we get a nice piece, try to keep them even so they kind of fit together and they take up more space. I have prepared these ahead of time, and I will tell you very quickly, I sent out an ingredient list. I don't know if you all saw that. I hope you got it. In the grilled veg, I'm doing a bunch of grilled vegetables for the sandwich. I had listed an eggplant, and then when I was shopping yesterday at the market to get some vegetables, I was like, I hate eggplant. So I didn't buy an eggplant for myself. If you have an eggplant, you're welcome to cut it and grill it. But eggplant seriously is like the one food I just don't like. I will eat it if someone serves it to me, but I would never make it for myself. I make an eggplant parmesan all the time for people, but it's just, I don't like eggplant. So since I'm going to be eating the sandwich, I'm leaving out the eggplant. But if you have eggplant, you're welcome to use it. And I would encourage you to use it. So I prep these a little bit after I cut them. I have a portobello mushroom. I have some nice thinly sliced fennel. I have some radicchio. The radicchio is going to give kind of that crunch. Since all the other vegetables are kind of soft, the fennel will give a nice little crunch. But radicchio is a really great vegetable to grill because it's very bitter when it's raw, and I like that bitterness. But when it grills, it gets quite sweet, and that bitterness really mellows out once it's grilled, and it almost gets charred. And I love that flavor. Same thing with the fennel. Is some people think it's too vegetal, or they don't like that black licorice flavor. But when it's grilled, it really caramelizes nicely. And so I've marinated these in a little bit of olive oil, a little pinch of salt, a little pinch of pepper, and some balsamic vinegar. Just regular balsamic vinegar for about, I put them in there maybe at 11, so about an hour and 45 minutes ago. So bear with me while I carry my computer on the box of wine. I need to start a web show or something. I'm getting okay at this. There, now you can see my
just so you know, it's Nicole again. I regularly prop my computer up on an ice bucket. So I think we're thinking along the same lines. And
you need to do something.
What our accessories are. Yeah.
You're looking up my nose while I'm trying to talk about food. So I've got my portobello, and this is why I have the dogs out of the kitchen, because if I turned the vent on, you probably wouldn't hear me. And I'm going to grill these. Obviously, if you have a grill outside, that's ideal, but it was raining a little bit earlier this morning in Pacifica, which was awesome. I'm going to put them down. The radicchio goes very quickly, but I'm starting this, and why I'm doing this first is because when I'm grilling vegetables, I have a little piece of red onion as well. When I'm grilling vegetables, I like to get the marks on the grill and get them charred a little bit on the grill, and then I'm going to pop them in the oven so they can cook for about 10 or 12 minutes while we're prepping everything else. We'll go with the flow. And I just saw Sybil say, as hot pastrami on rye is one of the main things I miss about New York City. Is a great, like a 4-inch sandwich that you can't even get your mouth around. Just delicious. See how the radicchio gets those nice little grill marks, and then they get really, I don't want to say sweet because they're not sweet the way that fennel is sweet, but it really mellows out that bitterness that radicchio is known for, and why a lot of people like it. A lot of people like that bitter flavor. Grilled onions. And the first ones that are going to be finished, I didn't get my pepper in there. The first ones that are going to be finished are going to be the zucchinis because they cook really, really quickly. So I just really want to get some lines on them. You don't have to be really overly extra in making sure you've got the perfect cross marks because it's going to be in a sandwich. You're not going to really be displaying this. If I was doing a grilled vegetable platter, I want to make sure that they're nice and beautifully done. I think those radicchios look great. It does smell really good in here. Yeah, see that fennel. When that fennel turns nice and black, that's like really, really sweet caramelized sugar. Oh, look at that. That one came out beautiful. Boom. And this. Okay. I usually would let these go for another minute or so, but to hurry things along, I'm going to turn this off. Then I'm going to pop this in the oven and give it about 10 or 12 minutes. But again, because I have done this a couple times, I have a plate already prepared. I learned that when I worked for Martha Stewart. I worked for Martha for 2 weeks, 2 long weeks. So we've got the vegetables grilling. I want to show you how easy it is to make a pesto. Let's move this in a little closer so you can really see into there. And this pesto that I'm making, I want to make it vegan since everything else in this sandwich is you know, you could put some Parmesan cheese in it if you're just vegetarian, but we wanted to have as vegan-y an option as possible. And I'm going to use some basil. I have some washed out basil. I'm going to use my old, I bought this in Chinatown in New York probably 30 years ago, and it's still great. If you have a wooden mortar and pestle or the Suriname, or they work just as well. But I'm going to show you how easy this is. I'm going to use walnuts because I don't really have any pine nuts hanging around. I'm going to put in a little bit of lemon zest because everything else in this sandwich is kind of, you know, the grilled vegetables are earthy and vegetal. The zest of the lemon really brightens it up. And I don't want to put in the juice because if you put the juice of the lemon in with the basil, acid turns the chlorophyll, makes it brown. It turns it dull. So all I have in there is some basil, some walnuts, some lemon zest. I'm going to put in a little pinch of salt, a little pinch of ground black pepper. I always tell my students to never use white pepper if I'm teaching them. Always use black pepper because white pepper to me tastes like feet. So I'd rather have little black flecks in it than have my food taste like gym socks. It's a personal preference. If you like white pepper, put it in there. But this is how easy pesto is made. And you can vary this to whatever you want. If you want to have like a super, super high omega-3 vegetable pesto, you could put in pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, just pound them up. The reason why I like to do this, even if I was doing it for a big party, I like to use this rather than a Cuisinart or a blender. You can tell how out of shape I am. Just doing this is making me out of breath. I miss walking up that hill to Burke Hall from the parking lot. That was like my exercise. But if you put olive oil, particularly a nice extra virgin olive oil, into a blender, the speed and the heat can really oxidize that oil, and it can get really quite bitter. So doing this by hand, you see how really super easy that is. Could put in a little bit. That's not even a tablespoon of olive oil. and just pound it up. Mash it. That is how easy it is to make pesto. That looks beautiful. If I were going to serve this on a pasta, I'd grind it up a little bit more because then I wouldn't want sort of the big leaves of basil. But for a sandwich, I think that looks awesome. Just scoop some up on a spoon. Boom, boom, boom. You've got the green, you've got the walnuts. Let me taste it. A little touch of oil more. That was really good. So that's how easy it is to make pesto. You got a mortar and pestle, you just pound it all together. I'll let that sit to the side until I'm ready to make that sandwich. While our vegetables are cooking. And then I will pull out my turkey. Let me clean off my board. See if there's any questions going along here. Is a hamburger considered a sandwich? A hot dog is not a sandwich. I don't know if a hamburger is considered a sandwich. I don't really consider it one, but it kind of meets all of the requirements. It's got 2 pieces of bread. It's got, what kind of olive oil do you recommend? Honestly, that's a tough question to answer. I would say buy the best olive oil that you feel comfortable paying for. Because olive oils can get really expensive. I tend to buy, honestly, it's just the, it begins with the C, Calavita is like my all-purpose one, but then I'll buy, like I'll go to, when I'm up in Napa, I'll buy like a nice olive oil from a winery or something just to try them. But I just buy Calavita because I've been using it for years. I can't say that it's better than any other olive oil, but it's not too expensive and it's a nice quality, nice high quality. So for our ciabatta sandwich, I'll show you this because it is cold and a little rainy here in Pacifica today. So I actually pulled out my sandwich press. And I figure once I make this sandwich, I'll let it press for a little bit to melt the brie while I am making the vegetable sandwich. Also because as soon as I'm done here, I'm filling in for a high school down in Sunnyvale, and I have to record a video on how to make clam chowder. So I figured a nice pressed sandwich with a bowl of clam chowder would be a perfect meal for this evening. So what I was talking about with exactly a nice soup and a sandwich. For our turkey sandwich, I have pre-bought ciabatta. That is because I can't make ciabatta. This I bought up in Napa. I don't remember where. It's a honey mustard. I've never tried it. I figured I'd try it now. And I've let the brie sit out for about half an hour so it gets nice and kind of squishy. That way it's going to spread more on my sandwich. But what I want to show with the turkey is this is the turkey breast. And most people usually cut the turkey breast along the side. And you can see when you're cutting the turkey, you can see the muscle strands are kind of going from top to bottom. So you get a much softer slice if you cut against the grain, the same way if you're cutting a steak. Like if you have the whole turkey on Thanksgiving and it's kind of sitting there and you start shaving it off the side and then you're like, oh, this turkey isn't very moist. If you remove the breast and then cut it from top to bottom, you'll find that it's actually a much more moister turkey. You're just cutting against the muscle fibers. And then you get, for sandwiches, I like to try to get it as thin as I can because it's like with the corned beef or pastrami or something. You don't want to bite into a whole big piece that just kind of sits there and chews. So, running out of room here, I don't need my knife anymore. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take my honey mustard. One of the best secrets about making a sandwich is spreading a nice good coating on one side. Boom. And then press it together. Now you got mustard on both sides. And that way also, particularly with ciabatta that's got those holes, if some of them were too filled up, now it's going to be on both sides. Now every bite you take is going to have a decent amount of mustard. And you can certainly put mayonnaise on this. I don't think it's necessary because we've got the cheese. Look at how perfectly that fit. I like the brie that has a little bit higher fat content, but you again buy whatever brie you're most comfortable with. And this actually kind of worked out perfectly because as the brie got smaller, the ciabatta also got smaller. So those slices, I did not plan that, but that worked out really, really nicely. And then I'm going to take my apple and again, try to get really nice thin slices. And as I mentioned, I like the green apples with this because of the tartness. If you like the sweeter red apples, by all means, it's your sandwich. And I'm going to put these here. It's a really simple preparation. And then spread out my turkey. I actually might eat this before I have my soup. I'll save the grilled vegetable sandwich for with my soup. Carefully flip it over. Bada bing. Now I've got this nice looking sandwich. I'm going to go stick it in my sandwich press. And while I am doing that, I will start working on the vegetable sandwich. Ah, that smells great. All right, I can put this to the side. Now here comes the big moment. How did my bread turn out? Let's just wipe this off a little bit since it's wet. So we have my bread. I am going to, I think that's a little small. That's a little small. Let's cut it here. You know what? I'll cut the biggest pieces I can. It came out okay. A little dense. I'd like it a little bit softer, but again, I'm learning how to make sourdough. I am not at all a sourdough expert. It's fun in that really frustrating way that something goes wrong and you're like, I did it exactly like I was supposed to, but yeast has its own, and your starter has its own mind almost. There we go. I cooked this last night. This would have been a lot better right out of the oven, but I didn't. That would have been a perfect time for it to have not turned out when I'm doing a public demo, and then I would have been like, sorry. We have no bread. I could have just used the ciabatta. So again, you have equal slices. Let's get my pesto back here. Smash that up a little bit more. Oh, I also had put down, if you wanted this to be very vegan, since there's nothing like cheese or anything like that in here, some nutritional yeast would be great. I thought I had some, but I don't. So so there's not in here, but it's okay. And we had a little talk earlier. You're welcome to put raw garlic in here if you like your pesto with raw garlic. I don't like raw garlic. Roasted garlic would be great, but raw garlic on a sandwich to me just seems like overkill. But again, if you like garlic, by all means, put in a clove or two of garlic into your. Oh, that sound's coming from the sandwich maker. I thought my dog was doing something. Scratching at the door. So if you want to put raw garlic in, you are certainly welcome to. And again, this isn't going to work as well as the little mustard did because it's so solid. So I'm just going to put it on both sides, and a little bit goes a long way. And like I said, if you want to put flax seeds, pumpkin seeds would be delicious in this. Pumpkin seeds would be delicious and seasonal right now. Would be fantastic. Other vegetables that you could put on here that would go really, really well would be the grilled butternut squash. Anything really. You could do grilled different color carrots if you wanted to. Different colored peppers. I'm actually going to slice my mushroom so I get thinner slices rather than just biting into a whole big piece of mushroom. But I want to, in the same way the other stuff did, I want to try to cover as much real estate as I can so that with every bite you're kind of getting everything. Same thing with my peppers. Yeah, actually, you know what? I'm just going to put them right on. This is pretty. The onions I'm going to sprinkle out just so I don't get like one whole big hunk of onion, which is fine. And then our radicchio. I need to get on a nice plate to put this on. There we go. Boom. You know what? Actually, I'm going to also add. There's nice little juices from when these roasted. I'm going to pour those right onto the sandwich. That'll moisten up the bread. Not that my bread isn't moist. Pull those out of the oven. Oh, look at that. The trick is getting sandwiches to stay together when you're in the kitchen, but then when you're eating them, they fall apart. That's half the fun. Yum. There we have one. Make sure I'm not burning my turkey. Ah, delicious. Melted brie. A nice rainy day. And there we go. We've got a vegetarian sandwich, actually a vegan sandwich, with a bunch of different vegetables, homemade pesto. We've got turkey, brie, apples, honey mustard. That is going to be gone the second this thing is over. Ooh, it's hot in here. I'm going to open the door now so the dogs can come in. The window, turn off the stove, and then answer some questions.
Those look amazing. Thank you.
That's why when they asked to do sandwiches, I figured since it's going to be in November, we might as well do turkey.
Yeah.
We do celebrate Thanksgiving with the turkey. This year we're going to actually make chicken and waffles, but it's perfect for leftover. And if you're doing leftover stuff, then you can put on some cranberry sauce, put on a little bit of stuffing. Delicious stuff you can do with leftover turkey. But just shows you that a sandwich doesn't just, and again, not saying peanut butter and jelly isn't great. I love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But if you think about the different layers of a sandwich, the texture of the bread, the sweetness or the acidity of the condiments, whether it's a mustard or a mayonnaise or a pesto or anything, a combination of those, an aioli. And then when you're putting stuff in there, the more kind of flavor notes you can hit, the more interesting the sandwich is going to be. You get something a little sweet, something a little crunchy, something a little salty. You know, the acidity will usually be taken care of by a condiment or something. But it's sandwiches can be an art, and I think I would argue that banh mi is probably the most arty of a sandwich because it's so many amazing flavors that you generally don't expect in a sandwich unless you've had a really good banh mi. But also, as I said, Reuben's, Cubano with the melted cheese and the hams and the pickles is just, how do you roast garlic? Roast garlic is very easy. I can actually show you quickly. If you have a head of garlic, you're going to cut off like the top maybe inch or so, not even inch, half an inch. Wrap the whole thing in tin foil with a little sprinkling of olive oil and then put it in like a 350-degree oven for 45 minutes. Super, super easy. Can a sandwich be too big? I will allow you to answer that yourself. As I mentioned, the you know, like New York City pastrami sandwiches are famous for being too big to fit into your mouth. You know, they can be 4 inches of vertical pastrami that just doesn't fit. So you eat some of it and you talk, and you eat some of the cheese and you talk, and you get it down to where you can actually fit it into your mouth. But yes, oh, a muffaletta as well. What a great sandwich with tapenade and how to liven up everyday condiments like mayonnaise. Certainly, you could take regular mayonnaise, like what is it out here? The Best Foods or Hellman's, and you could put in curry powder. Like curry powder on these grilled vegetables would be great. A curry powder mayonnaise would be great. But mayonnaise can be used to do a lot of stuff. You can make an aioli, put in some garlic powder, a little onion powder or something. You know, even, you know, make it almost kind of like a ranch dressing if you really wanted to. Mustards, I don't know if there's ways that you can liven up mustards, but there are hundreds of different styles of mustards that you can buy. I don't think I've ever bought a mustard and then did something to make it different. If I wanted a, you know, there's whole grain mustards, there's spicy and sweet mustards, there's flavored mustards. So that I think goes into the purchasing, but mayonnaise is certainly very customizable. You can play around with mayonnaise, but mustard, I just buy it. You certainly could, if you wanted more honey, you could take some mustard and add a particular honey that you like to make it more honey mustardish if you wanted. And Mai, the brand Mai, M-A-I-L-L-E, they sell, like, you know, rosemary mustard and white truffle mustard and porcini mustard, balsamic mustard. So lots of different types of mustards out there. And we seriously have like a dozen different types of mustards here. So, yeah.
What's the fanciest sandwich you've had? Have you ever, somebody you're just like, what's kind of one that just really blew you away?
Oh, definitely a banh mi. Probably the first time I had a banh mi. Because it's like, I mean, it looks like just a baguette with stuff in it, but then when you eat it, it's like, there's not a lot of sandwiches that have the cilantro and the jalapeno, and it could taste almost like pho in a sandwich, you know? It was just so many unexpected flavors with that. Really, I had it with like some people like it with the softer bread. I had it with like a really hard, real French baguette. So it was like crunchy, crunchy, crunchy. And then just these amazing, you know, herbal, the cilantro and the mint and the really moist chicken and stuff. So it's that was probably the first time I had a sandwich and was like, wow. But also, you know, I love making grilled cheese, and grilled cheese is just kind of, you know, an American quesadilla. But the banh mi, when I first had a banh mi, that was the first time I realized that sandwiches could be a lot more than just stuff between bread. I probably had that the same way I had the first time I had a muffaletta. It was, again, like all these unexpected flavors. They just, like, you know, it looks like just stuff. Favorite cheeses for grilled cheese? I like Monterey Jack just because it melts really well. But if I was going to do like a fancy grilled cheese, we use in the Vista Room, I like to do like a tomato soup with a little grilled cheese garnish, particularly on a rainy day. And for that, I like to use like a Gruyere, like a Swiss style cheese, just because they melt so well. You know, brie kind of melts, but doesn't melt great. And then some people don't like the white part. Mozzarella is almost too stringy. If you did like mozzarella in a grilled cheese, it would be like, you know, this string. But Gruyere, Monterey Jack, all melt really well. So I probably use those the most. Cheddar certainly as well. How important is the bread selection? It depends on what kind of sandwich you're making. You know, if you're doing a peanut butter and jelly, well, I'll tell you a funny story actually after I say what I'm about to say. But if you're doing a peanut butter and jelly, that's perfectly fine on just like a white Pullman toast, or I mean a white Pullman bread, or even if it's toasted. But it depends, you know, it's going to depend on what type of sandwich you're doing and whether you're just making a quick little thing to fill yourself up, or whether you're trying to really impress people with a really interesting, unique sandwich. And obviously, if you want a unique, interesting sandwich, the better the bread is, the better it's going to be. But that being said, I was at a food conference in Portland, probably in 2007 or 8, and we went to one of the street food trucks, like a food truck fair that they had for the conference, and there were maybe 50 food trucks there, and there was a couple. They were a couple that I started talking to them, and they were a married couple, and they were bankers, but they decided they wanted to open a food truck. So they opened a food truck where all they made was grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And they made their own brioche, and they ground their own peanuts, and they had some of their own jellies, but they made like peanut butter and jalapeno sandwiches, peanut butter and grape jelly with bacon on their own brioche bread that was just fantastic. And they said they made $40,000 a month just selling grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. and they're like, we go to Coachella, we go to, you know, Lightning in a Bottle, we go to all these fairs, and we're like our own bosses now, and we're making more than we did when we were bankers. So it's, you know, the bread is important, but as with any of the ingredients, they're only as important as you want them to be. You know, there are times that I'll grab 2 flour tortillas and throw some cheese in there, and that's all I want because I'm just hungry. Is there such a thing as a sweet sandwich? I would say that a peanut butter and jelly is a very sweet sandwich. The funniest thing I hear from students, particularly students who come here and weren't raised in America, and the first time they try peanut butter and jelly, and they're like, "Ooh, that's too sweet." So peanut butter and jelly, peanut butter and fluff, that's a sweet sandwich. And certainly yeah, you know, if you made a turkey with some cranberry sauce, that's going to be some sweetness, but there's savory in there as well. But yeah, peanut butter and jelly, a fluffernutter, they're sweet, sweet, sweet. So peanut butter, bananas, and honey, there you go. That's a great one. Peanut butter, bananas, and honey I would call that a sweet sandwich. I wouldn't say it's a dessert sandwich, but it's definitely not savory. This was really fun. I didn't know I could talk so much about sandwiches. That's kind of cool.
So Chef Shaw, we actually do have just a few more questions
Okay.
that we have from the Q&A. Now that you've taught us to make really elevate our sandwiches and really hit it out of the park, do you have any advice on if we want to bring these sandwiches to work once we're all back in the office? Is there, like, I mean, is Ziploc okay? Tupperware? Is there a preferred method, or does it not really matter?
I would think for something like with this, you see it's not really held together well. I would say this would go better in a Tupperware rather than a bag that's going to kind of slide around, or wrapped in like saran wrap or wax paper or something to hold it together. It would depend on the consistency of the stuff that's in the sandwich. Like a peanut butter and jelly, you could easily put into a Ziploc bag because it's not going to come apart. But something that's more fragile, like the grilled vegetables, where there's nothing really holding it together, would do better in a Tupperware, or if it's wrapped in paper or something to hold it together. And then, of course, you could always put it in the toothpick if you needed to. But yeah, that would be my recommendation.
And can you recommend any gluten-free options for bread?
You know what? I don't want to recommend any because I've never tried any. I've bought some for use in the Vista Room and stuff, but I don't know any enough to say this one's better than that one. So I could just tell you some names, but I couldn't tell you they're better than others. I've bought, I think it's called Udo's, like in the frozen section of Safeway. But I don't know how it compares to others. I'm not very up on. I know how to make gluten-free food, but I'm not really up on gluten-free bread because I just hadn't had enough experience making or eating it. So I'm sorry.
What's a good? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna. What's a good sandwich for parents at home with their kids to kind of teach kids to start to make their own lunches or help out with that? What do you think is just?
I think either of these would have been great. I think if you have your own turkey or if you have your own ham, rather than buying the Lunchables, which are have 3 days worth of sodium in them and stuff, to just show them how working with fresh ingredients can be really a lot easier than a lot of people make it out to be. I mean, convenience foods are convenience foods because they're convenient, but a lot of these foods, you saw how quickly those were made without really too many, overly technical techniques. But I don't have kids, so again, I'm speaking from when I was a kid. I loved being with my mom in the kitchen, and she would just say, like, what do you feel like having? Like what? So I would be able to say, let's make a deviled ham sandwich, or I liked egg salad when I was a kid. I loved it. So asking the kids what they want or what they're rather than saying we have to have this super healthy sandwich, say, what is it that you want? And then making a sandwich around that, I think would help. But they're, again, kids' palates are going to be a lot more different. I don't eat a lot of fluff now. I lived on fluff when I was a kid, but now it's too sweet. So as you get older, I would never have touched radicchio when I was a kid. I didn't even like broccoli when I was a kid. But as you get older and your palate develops and bitter flavors become more sweet and stuff. So it's, their tastes are going to change. The turkey breast, slicing it a certain way, I don't touch it, keeping it so it's moist. It's there are a lot of tips about cooking it so it's moist, and it all really just comes down to getting comfortable with working with turkey breast. And I think a lot of the issue why people have issues around the holidays when they have to make turkey is it's like the only time of year that you cook turkey. So you're like, how did we do it last year? Or I don't remember how I did it. It's just a matter of not overcooking it, really. And that sounds like a cop out, but it's check it every now and then and take the temperature in the center and make sure that it doesn't overcook. A lot of people overcook the turkey because we're told to cook it to, I think even if you buy, like a butterball or something that says cook it to 180, it doesn't need to go that high. Cook it to like 155 and the carryover heat's going to cook it all the way through, and then it's going to be nice and moist. But I think most people just overcook turkeys and don't cook them enough to get comfortable doing it. But of course, that said, you could brine them. I like buying the turkey or either the split turkey so it's just the bone. I rarely cook like a whole turkey because the breast is always done before the legs. That's just a fact of biology. So I like to cook the legs separately. I cook the breast separately, and you take the breast out way before the legs because they just take longer. I hope that helps, but I get asked that question all the time, and I'm like, I don't know how to make it easier because, cook it a couple times a year and practice and see what works for you and what size works for you, and just get used to not overcooking it, because it's very easy to overcook it because we're afraid of the salmonella and what food safety says.
Thank you so much. And it looks, Julie, I hope that this, we'll have this available and we'll send you a link. I hope this will also be helpful on your son's journey to becoming a great chef and a sandwich.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I can send you my YouTube channel. I'm teaching down at this high school, so I've made like maybe 12 videos of just how to make, if you Google Tim Shaw cookies, you might find it, but I'll send it to Ken and we'll get it to you. They're very, very low tech, but I'm up to maybe 50 subscribers, so I'm not yet a Kardashian, but they're a lot of fun to do.
We would love that. You know, we cannot thank you enough.
Oh, thank you. It's very fun to do.
One of the things we found when we're looking for silver linings in this situation that we're in is it has given us the opportunity to put on these. Oh, come on! What kind of sandwich is
sandwich?
What kind of sandwich is it? What's your dog's name?
He's Sebastian.
What kind of sandwich does Sebastian like?
Yes.
Exactly. I'm Sebastian. Well, is that we're getting to do content like this and work with our San Francisco State partners in a way we never have before. And this is a perfect example. We are so appreciative that you,
thank you,
made the time for us to do this, that we could still have this event. It's always my favorite of the year, and you've continued to make it my favorite of the year.
I appreciate it because I'm a chef because I like to cook. And I'm a chef because I hate sitting at the computer. And all I do these days is I'm just sitting at the computer on Zooms for like sometimes 4 or 5 hours a day. And I'm like, this is not why I started cooking. I started cooking to not have to sit at a desk. So to be able to be up here and do all this it's an honor and a privilege. And I very much appreciate it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. To let everyone know, we will get a link to this recording. We'll definitely include your YouTube channel
Cool.
in that as well, so that we can learn even more from you. I
Awesome.
Can't think of anything I'd like to look up more than Tim Shaw cookies.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's a great search. So thank you. Thank you again.
All right. Thank you.